Evening, everyone. The Moer de Asra, the senior rabbi, Bichvodo ve'atzmo. So we are ReZOOMin MeZOOMin. Welcome back. I wish I could take credit for that line, but that comes from our producer, Rena Goluskov. ReZOOMin MeZOOMin. It's nice to see everyone. It's nice to see people on the screen. We hope you've been having that's right. Applause now. Absolutely. Very good. Nicely done. I'm your host, Rabbi Chai Posner, and we are joined by our Moer de Asra, Senior Rabbi Mitchell Wahlberg. Rabbi Eli Yogev is on vacation this week. That's because he had to work the other 7 weeks of the summertime. He got off one. But it's good to see you all. Rabbi Wahlberg, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, I'm doing good. It's not bad to have a job where you stay home and get paid. But it's crazy. It really is crazy. I said I'm glad that we have MeZOOMin because this way I know that today is Thursday. Otherwise, there's no way of knowing. I have down here, somebody sent me something. Until further notice, the days of the week are now called this day, that day, other day, someday, yesterday, today, and next day. At least today I know is Thursday. Other than that, you want to hear something incredible? We haven't been together for a month, right? And nothing's changed. We still don't.
It looks like you might have gotten a little tanner.
Yeah, I've had a little time lying out on my porch. I have my days sort of broken up into different hours. 1 hour a day I watch television. I never ever do that. But 1 hour a day now at night with Sherry, I watch a different program.
We watch TV an hour a day too. We've been watching Wonder Pets. Are you enjoying that? Paw Patrol and Barney.
There's something about tigers that's on that everybody's talking about. Television is really mishuga. Although I've seen some interesting things, unorthodox, I really enjoyed that. Although I'm one of the few Jews who doesn't like shtisel.
She's the woman from Unorthodox.
Big stuff.
She's nominated for something.
She's nominated for an Emmy Award, and I think she's on the cover of Vogue or Vanity Fair or whatever. She's made it very, very big. She's 4'7". It only goes to show. And I've watched 1 hour. That's all I can. I understand she was in Shtisel.
Yeah, also. She was in Shtisel also, and it's true. Shtisel season 3 began their production.
But now there's a new program that's supposed to be on, I think, Amazon Prime or Apple Prime. I don't know the difference. A Seth Rogen movie, an American Pickle. Now I'm asking myself whether I'll be able to watch that feeling the way that I do about Seth Rogen.
He made some questionable comments.
And we Jews do not like questionable comments. We don't believe in cancel culture. We just put you in cherem. That's all.
We as Jews, you can see our chat is lighting up with people's comments on Seth Rogen. Such words as yuck.
Yeah, but you know something? There was some element of truth to what he had to say. It's a very big challenge what to teach our kids about Israel. We have that challenge in the high school because that's already at an age where kids know the difference, and you want to be honest and you want to tell them the truth. And that's why we're very careful. We always present an opposing view and then explain why we don't agree with it. But
right, there's a concept in the Jewish tradition about when talking about things that we learn or don't learn, certain things that were considered off limits for learning. There's even a concept that's called Dam al Hashiv, that you're supposed to know how to answer someone. So even something that was considered sort of, what's the word? Apicorsis, heresy, considered heresy, that there would be a reason if you're learning it, so you will know what to answer. But I'll tell you, I think when Seth Rogen starts caring about what I have to say about acting, I think then I'll care about what he has to say about Israel.
I'll have to give some thought whether I'm going to be able to watch that movie. But that's 1 hour a day. 1 hour a day, I sit on the back porch and just read. No talk, no nothing.
Oh, I sit on the back porch and read also. We just finished the Sesame Street series.
Oh, no, I'm reading some good stuff. I'm up to date. I am really up to date. Cast. This is a book that has just come out, which got rave reviews, and it is Oprah's book of the month. And it has a Jewish dimension to it also. I just got this today, and I am going to be reading that. And I've read a million books about pandemics and Jewish history and how it's fascinating. There's always a Jewish angle. Are you ready for a Dvar Torah?
These people have been waiting a month for a Dvar Torah.
Well, so have I. So have I. So here I'm going to tell you something very interesting I came across. Quarantine. We all talk about quarantine, right? So here's the question. What does that word mean? Where does it come from? Come on, Posner.
I have no idea.
Quarantine means 40 days. And there's a difference of opinion of where this 40 days came in with quarantine, but whether it came in the bubonic plague or in the 1700s. But what they did was they used to make the ships that were coming from foreign ports stay in the harbor for 40 days before they could unload it to make sure it was all safe. How did they come up with 40 days? Because they had a biblical source, which is found in this week's Torah portion, where Moshe keeps repeating that I went up to the mountain for 40 days and I went up to the mountain for 40 days. What did he do? He quarantined himself. He separated himself from everybody else so that it could be all alone, just him and God, and no contamination and no lashon hara. And it's possible from that biblical source, we got the idea of quarantining for 40 days and got the word quarantine. Go ahead.
Do you remember that the first Shabbos that people were talking about, like really getting to masks and all that, was Parsha Ki Tisa? And at the end of that Parsha, they say that Moshe wore, the Pasuk says that Moshe was shining so much he had to wear a mask on his face.
Wear a mask. That's something else I do. Every day I spend a couple of minutes on Amazon. Just, to do some shopping. So I can't buy ties because who knows the next time I'm going to wear ties. So I buy masks. This is my most recent one. Can you see what it says?
You got to pull down the bottom a little more.
What does it say?
This is making me schwitz.
Yeah, that's very good. Very, very important. Very important. This is making me schwitz. I hear people coming, I can't wear a mask. It makes me schwitz. We are the most spoiled human beings in the history of mankind. And other pandemics, there were dead people lying on the street. There was foul odor. There was all sorts of... A quarter of Europe was wiped out in one of the plagues. And we're bothered by a mask.
I had, you know what, I had the same thought on Tisha B'Av when Alan Zaremski, one of our members, gave an incredible presentation on the Warsaw Ghetto. And they're talking about how they lived and the uprising and the bravery and the courage. And I'm thinking like, well, hey, I'm brave. I'm going out today on Tisha B'Av, 90-degree weather with a mask for a half hour outside.
That's brave.
This is brave and courageous.
All right, so that's part of the day. I spend several hours a day eating at all different times of the day. Let's see. I do work on sermons. I have all my sermons for the high holidays and my classes for.
Is it true? I heard that you have one sermon written if the numbers go up, and you have a different sermon written in case the numbers go down, and just in case any new plague kind of comes around. This is good. You like to write your sermons far in advance. This is a hard year to do that.
No, let me tell you a big problem that I have. As you know, we're going to have services in shul. We're not sure how many people are going to be coming, but to keep the service for an hour and 15 minutes, I have limited myself to having the sermon for 20 minutes. I will video the full sermon for people to see before or after, whatever. But today I was working on my Yiska sermon. With, you know what it's like to have to cut a sermon from 42 minutes to 20 minutes?
Yeah. Listen, give me 22 minutes. I'll use it for my Rosh Hashanah sermon.
Okay. I got the picture. So these are the challenges that I've been facing here. But your rabbi has been holding up very well, which leads us to one last question about your rabbi, which is going to be, what is it, the quiz of the day?
This is our trivia question of the day.
Trivia question of the day. Do you think Rabbi Wahlberg would attend high holiday services if he wasn't getting paid? That's the trivia question of the day.
What are the multiple choices?
Well, the multiple choices, I could come one day.
So how many days?
Yeah,
one
my
day?
wife, Sherry would definitely make me come at least once, no matter what. But that's the question. Would your rabbi be coming to shul? Sherry is screaming in the background, absolutely.
Absolutely. Is it true she's sending you without a mask? Is that
Not
true?
only that, she's sending me for Tzom Gedalia as well, she says. Listen, this is a big question. You know, what people are going to do for the high holidays. And it's very interesting, the response that we're getting from people. We're offering all sorts of different options. And whatever we're offering, we are taking health as being the number one priority. There's no such thing. I heard some Orthodox rabbis talking about some members of their shul come in without a mask, and at weddings they don't wear a mask. There's no such thing at Beth Tefillah. You could not walk into a service without a mask. We've arranged for seating in 1,600 seats. We're only going to accommodate 250, so we could have enough of the social distancing that is required and that is really absolutely necessary. So we're doing everything humanly possible to make it work. And yet, many people that I've spoken with, people who come every Shabbos, are very reluctant to come Rosh Hashanah. And I understand. Which is why we're going to be putting parts of the service out before Rosh Hashanah, that people can at least have a taste of it. And the reality is, if you don't come to shul, the one thing that you're missing out on that really counts is hearing the shofar. And we're going to try and make some arrangements for Sunday afternoon to have some outdoor blowing of the shofar, so that those people.
Did you say outdoor blowing of the shofar? This is so relaxed.
kind of noises. Wow, where does it come from?
What's that sound?
Here come the high holidays, ready or not. And God Almighty, are we ready? It seems as if we've done nothing else but wait for the high holidays, and now they're coming. Yes, we have been spending some time getting ready, but we never know what tomorrow can bring. Just today, the mayor of the city of Baltimore, I think, limited religious services to 25 people. What happens if that happens before Rosh Hashanah?
Yeah, it's really interesting that to think about. You know, we said this. We had we said this at religious services and board meeting yesterday, and it's important for people to understand and sort of for that message to go out that we are not encouraging anyone to come to shul unless they feel comfortable coming. And
do you know how strange that sounds? The rabbi is telling you, we're not encouraging you to come to shul. This is the man that's going to replace the pious Rabbi Wahlberg, the man who's telling you you don't have to come to shul. It's unbelievable.
I'm sorry. What I should have said is if you're not getting paid, you don't have to come to shul.
Yeah, listen, everybody thought it was a step down when I replaced Rabbi Rosenblatt. Can you imagine what they're going to think now? Go ahead.
You know, it's, by the way, things are so strange. They feel so strange. It feels we're going against our natural inclination. You know, our inclination for people to you know, somebody comes in the door, you go up to them, you say good Shabbos. In our shul, you give them a hug, you give them a kiss, you give them a handshake, you walk up. You know, we're always looking. I learned this from you, Rabbi, and you're excellent at it. You know, always looking for a reason for connection. You know, I would speak to you. I remember I would speak to you. You were like in Israel, and I'm talking to you, and you say, I just walked by a store with the same name as a member of ours. So I went in to buy a T-shirt with the name on it, so I could bring it back to them, just so they know I was thinking about them.
It was like Yussel Laganov. Yeah, no, I remember.
Was it Yussel or Label? It might have been Label the Laganov.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yussel Laganov. Yeah.
You know, so we're always looking. You know, if we know someone got a new job, someone, you know, someone's grandchild, we walk up to, Mazel Tov, it's great. And here it's like you're in shul and you're trying to not do anything to get closer to people, because the closer you get, the more you start talking, and all of a sudden you got a crowd around, and it's strange. So there's a lot of things that we've had to do, like as rabbis, that are like so counter to, you know.
A couple of people have commented, you know, that they feel guilty not coming during the high holidays.
That's a lot of people have said that, the guilt that they've gone their whole life. They've never missed a Rosh Hashanah, a Yom Kippur.
And so, first of all, when they tell me that they feel guilty, I know that they were definitely born Jewish. So we can start off with that. And yes, that has always been, no matter how distant the person was from Judaism, they always somehow came to what we used to call the 3-day-a-year Jews, or certainly wouldn't miss a Kol Nidre or a Yiska. And yes, that became part of the general being of the Jew. That was when everybody showed up. But what if you're running a temperature? You can't come, and there's nothing to feel guilty about. Well, we're running a pandemic, and people at a certain age should not be coming. That's Jewish law. That's not liberal Rabbi Wahlberg speaking. There's no question about this. There was a pandemic in the 1800s. I think it was cholera. And at that time, they spoke to Rabbi Akiva Eger, who was the great sage of the time. And the problem was...
You know what he said? He said, if I wasn't getting paid, I wouldn't come to shul.
That's where I learned it from.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
He was one of the early ones. But so they couldn't allow the shul to be crowded because they practiced some form of social distancing. So they said, what happens if we can't accommodate all the members? He said, some will come Rosh Hashanah and some will come Yom Kippur. And at a similar time, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who was the founder of the Muslim movement, had told the people in the shul that they have to eat on Yom Kippur to maintain their health. And Kol Nidre night, he got up in shul and made kiddush and drank from the cup to show the people what the rabbi was doing and that it was permissible for them. I know it sounds strange, the rabbi's telling people you don't have to come to shul. Sherry has a very dear friend, Harriet, who sent her this story today, and it reminded me of the situation that we're in. In a small town outside of Tel Aviv, someone decided to open a nightclub opposite a Hasidic shtibel. You can imagine the uproar, the riffraff, the atmosphere in the neighborhood. The shtibel and its congregation started a campaign to block the club from opening with petitions, government lobbying, and even a daily vigil where they gathered for extra prayers for Tehillim. And it didn't work. But 3 weeks before the opening, there was a huge storm, lightning struck, and the club burnt to the ground. The club owner sued the Hasidim on the grounds that the shtibel, through its praying, was ultimately responsible for the ill fate of this dream project, either through direct or indirect actions or means. In reply, the court, the shtibel vehemently denied any responsibility or connection between their prayers and the club's burning down. As the case made its way to the court, the judge looked over the paperwork at the hearing and commented, I don't know how I'm going to decide this case, but it appears from the paperwork we have a secular Israeli nightclub owner who believes in the power of prayer and an entire congregation of a shtibel that doesn't. Okay.
You know, Rabbi Riskin has a great, I'm almost sure it's Rabbi Riskin in one of his books has a great story. It must have been when he was at Lincoln Square Synagogue and like some club opened up or something like that. It was on a holiday. It's a great story because apparently like he went there and went in and started dancing and singing, you know, for Simchas Torah or something like that with a group of the people who were there. It's a great story. But like how he you know, how he brought them along, which is really pretty cool. So
everybody's gonna do what is in their health's best interest.
You know, Rabbi Alan Sandler wrote in the comments here that Rabbi Rosenblatt said health comes first. And Marilyn Rosenblatt wrote in, Rabbi Rosenblatt's son agrees with Alan Sandler.
There's no question in Jewish law, health comes first. There's no exception to that. I'm telling you, the real challenge for every Jew is to do whatever is necessary to be sure that they're going to be in shul next Rosh Hashanah.
And I think it's important for people to remember, you know, Rabbi Wahlberg said earlier, there's only one act in shul on Rosh Hashanah that is specific to Rosh Hashanah that you got to hear in shul any more so than any other time, meaning it's the shofar. Separate from that, there's actually technically, you know, on a technical halachic level, there is no greater obligation to hear Torah reading on Rosh Hashanah than there is to hear it on a Shabbos or a weekday. There's no greater obligation to hear the repetition of the Amidah on Rosh Hashanah than there is on Shabbos or a weekday. Now, we feel an emotional connection to it, a spiritual connection to it. Of course, by all means, of course. But, you know, people should be reminded, I will tell you, if you're feeling guilty that you won't be able to be in shul for Rosh Hashanah, I got a great idea. There's a month before Rosh Hashanah where we'll be having services in the parking lot every single day of the week, morning and evening. I'm telling you right now, this I will go on the record. I would prefer, and I believe God would prefer, that you come for a month straight and skip Rosh Hashanah.
I got a better idea. We say that repentance, prayer, and charity avert the evil decree. So if you can't come for the prayer, send a check.
You know, it's funny.
Got it? Got
Because, because we at one of our meetings last night, I was saying something along the lines of what I was just saying about how people can come during the week, and Gary Eidelman, who's on the screen, said to me, "It's a good thing you answer, not Rabbi Wahlberg, because he would tell you to make a check out to Beth Villa."
Listen, I take a very realistic attitude. There are certain things that I'm very pious about, like masks. You're not going to believe this. You see, I just ordered this. Can you all see this? Disposable face masks made by Traveler's Best. Why did I order this? Because if you look all the way on the bottom, the circle there, it's under the supervision of the Orthodox Union.
And I think, if I remember correctly, it's dairy.
It's dairy. Can somebody tell me what's dairy about the mask and how much of it you're going to eat?
Well, listen, it's not Fleischig, right?
Believe me, don't worry about it being dairy. If you're having a hamburger, I'm telling you, you can put this mask on it and eat it together. You will not be violating anything. What
you got to put on the other set of dentures.
Listen, on the other hand, this is a very, very difficult and challenging time. I called one of our members tonight just to say hello, and he lost his job yesterday. And, I'm sitting here telling you how I'm spending my day, but there are a lot of people who are not as fortunate. And I'll tell you something. There's an article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, the strain the COVID pandemic is putting on marriages. Coronavirus stress has produced a pressure cooker inside homes, hurting even strong partnerships, and experts say likely breaking others.
It's interesting you say that, because I was actually thinking of speaking about this as part of a high holiday sermon, and I didn't get a chance yet to do the research. From anecdotal evidence, just from some things that people have said to me, I've heard from some people that it's actually been very good for their marriage, which I find fascinating, because going into this, people were saying, oh boy, 6 months from now, a year from now, the divorce lawyers, they're gonna, and I've heard from a number of people that they're actually like their marriages are doing better than they were, which I think
you want to know what? It's absolutely true. I think a dividing line is whether you're married at home with children or without. With children, I would imagine, is a much greater challenge and gives an extra dimension of areas on which to disagree. But without children, I think in terms of my own home, I dreaded the thought of a Pesach Seder where it was just going to be me and Sherry. I mean, here the Seder is the center of our year for the family, and everybody comes from out of town and everything. And here it was going to be just me and Sherry. And it turned into a really lovely, lovely evening. And it's been going that way ever since. So I guess a lot of it is up to the husband and wife.
I think you see here how much, circumstances are just, people are reacting to this in such different ways. And a lot of it is about their circumstances. Like you said, if you've got kids at home and you're both trying to work at home, or you both have to work out of the house and you had to figure out what to do for your summer plans, if you're, going about that type of life, it's a very different reaction. It's a very different circumstance than other people. And we always know how different people are and how different people think. But something like this really, really brings it to the forefront, because like we've said, and this is no different, in the school, and tried to make decisions for the start of
whatever the school does is going to be wrong. There is no right answer at this point.
Dr. Shore shared that, within 60 seconds, they got one email from someone saying, you have to do X. And one email from someone saying, if you do X, I'm not sending my kids to school. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the two. So you see it, I mean, especially obviously with kids, that it really brings that out. Though I'll tell you, anyone who's been home, well, you know what? Personally, I would have told you that I've been working very hard. The kids haven't been in camp. We've all been home. We've been home for 4 months. We're very, very fortunate that at the beginning of all this, we made the decision to be very careful about what we were doing outside so that we could continue to see my parents. That was something, and that for us has been huge because the kids have been able to see them. They've been able, so we've been fortunate. But if you would have asked me beforehand, how would it be for summer of the kids staying home and us staying in the house and not going out? I would just said it. I mean, it's going to be crazy, but there's something very, very nice about, there's a certain calm in the chaos when you're inside and you're not going out there. And it's just everything you have. I did see a comedian who said, he said, no one goes to sleep in my house anymore. There's no one sleeps. There's no bedtime. He said, I'm the only one who tries to go to sleep. We've experienced that a little bit, but
No. I have not been having any trouble going to sleep. No,
I think that might be an age dividing
My
line.
big problem is waking up Shabbos morning and saying, God, and people go to shul. That's really something. I want you to know, I have tremendous respect.
I can come by and knock on your door if you want.
I really appreciate that, Rabbi Posner. I really do. But no, it's really, I must tell you, as a collective Jewish community, our Beth Tefillah community has really been beautiful throughout this. You know, we sent out letters for people to sign up and to buy seats for 360 people. And we have a lot of people who said they're not coming and have sent in the check because they want us.
And have sent in a number of people who have signed up have sent in checks for more than the 360. They've sent in checks for the price of what they would have paid a normal year for a seat or for 2 seats.
Which is really a nice feeling. And you have no idea the programs that we're planning before and after the Yom Tovim that will be extremely meaningful and popular and is just meant to keep us together as a community. Speaking of which, what's coming up on MeZOOMin?
You know, I saw my mother wrote in up above, invite Hashem into your homes for Rosh Hashanah. And I love that. And that's really that's what the thinking is. And that's what we're really trying to hope to help you all do. I really deeply believe this. If we spend a month ahead learning, we have, and you saw it, but you'll see more details. We have a month of learning and preparations and teaching. So we're all going to learn a lot more about Rosh Hashanah and a lot more about Yom Kippur and a lot more about all of those things this coming year, particularly in the MeZooMin slot. Next week, we have our member, Dr. Michael Kleinberg, who actually knows something about infectious disease as opposed to everyone who thinks that they're experts on it. He actually is an expert on it. So we hope to be able to have him on. It might be that by that time, if Trump goes through a few more, he may have Dr. Kleinberg already, might be, his expert, and we won't be able to get in touch with him anymore. But we're planning to have him on next week to hear. You heard a little bit here about the high holidays, Yamim Norim, from your rabbi's perspectives. This will be the high holidays from a doctor's perspective. And I would tell you, we will thank him next week, but he's been very helpful, very available to us. We've called
and to the school.
And to the school.
He's the head of infectious diseases at the Cancer Center of the University Hospital. So he's one of those rare people who knows what he's talking about.
We've called on him for help, and he's been very helpful. So he'll be sharing with us next week, and we're going to have an opportunity within that for people to ask questions. So I will tell you that if you have any specific questions that you really want to make sure get asked, you can send them in to us ahead of time. And we'll try to make sure to get to them. That's next week. The week after, which is already that day is Rosh Chodesh Elul. we're going to start our MeZooMin Elul series. And we have on 4 weeks in a row some of the greatest minds in the Orthodox, I would say the modern Orthodox community, who are going to be joining us 4 weeks in a row. We've got Rabbi Benny Blech, who's an author, speaker, writer, and goes back a long way with Rabbi Wahlberg. He'll be here on August 20th. We're going to have Dr. Erica Brown the week after, August 27th. Some of you have had a chance to hear her here about the Phil in the past. She's excellent. She's written books about this time of year. We're going to have on September 3rd, Rabbi Moshe Hauer, who was in Shaarei Zion here in Baltimore, but he's now the executive vice president of the Orthodox Union of the OU, and he'll be able to share with us a little bit. The OU has been working very hard with Orthodox synagogues around the country. They're leading workshops to help people learn how to prepare and how to lead services and so on and so forth. And then the last Elul Thursday night guest we're going to have is a fantastic teacher, speaker, Dr. Ilana Stein-Hain. She works for the Hartman Institute. That's the one name that maybe some of you haven't heard. I'll encourage you to Google her. She is fantastic. We've been wanting to bring her to Beth Tefillah for a while and haven't been able to, and virtually this worked out. So she's going to also have a lot to give us going to the high holidays. That brings us all the way till September 17th, which is going to be Erev Rosh Hashanah. We'll have a special Erev Rosh Hashanah MeZooMin edition. And September 24th, which is going to be during Aseret Yemei Tshuva, will be the first ever pre-Shabbos Shuvah Drasha on MeZooMin. That's going to be on September 24th. And then we're already at October 1st, which by that time will be Erev Sukkot. And God willing, by that time, we'll all meet in person with no masks. All right, we can hope, we can pray, but that's going to be our Erev Sukkot edition of MeZooMin. That'll be already takes us all the way to October 1st. That's MeZooMin. But in addition to this, there's going to be 4 Wednesday nights that are going on, 4 Wednesday afternoons that are going on with Merkaz classes. Each of the clergy is going to be doing a different class to help us prepare for Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur. There's a lot of stuff going on. So pay attention. I encourage you. You should have gotten the email earlier this week about the high holiday experience. What we have done is create a way that everyone can be a part of this. Everyone can be a part of this, whether it's in person or it's online. And everyone can find meaning. I really encourage you, we have to move ourselves away from what we do. By the way, it's coming up. Thank you to Rena, posted that here in the chat. If you want to click on it and go there, I encourage you, go and read the details again, because it's a lot to take in, but there will be some more emails coming out with this, and sign in now to register and to get your spot and to make sure that you're a part of everything that we're doing, because it is going to be, and we just have to make it. It's up to us. It's going to be an incredibly meaningful high holiday season. I venture to say one of the most meaningful high holiday seasons that any of us have ever been a part of. And we're only concerned that next year, when God willing, we get back to everything regular, we're going to have people coming and saying, we really liked some of those extra programs you were doing. You got to do them for this year too.
Or an hour and 15 minutes for the high holiday service. It worked last year. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah.
Well, stick around. You'll see what we're doing. But in the meantime, please, this is a serious situation. Wear masks, socially distance, take care of yourselves. You're not only very dear to all of us at Beth Tefillah, there are a lot of people who love you and care about you. So have a good night and be well, and Shabbat Shalom.
Take care, everyone. We will keep open this room for our after party for a few minutes afterwards for those who want a chance to chat a little bit or to comment, but we'll stop the recording on Facebook Live and we'll stop the official program here. So in just a